In the early hours of a September morning, telegraph operators across America and Europe began screaming. Not from fear, not from pain, but because their machines were on fire. The wires had come alive with a power nobody had sent, burning through equipment, shocking workers, and somehow, impossibly, continuing to send messages even after operators disconnected the batteries entirely. Something had reached down from the sky and hijacked the entire communication network of the modern world. And the most terrifying part is that it can happen again at any moment, and this time we would not survive it nearly as well. The year was 1859. The Industrial Revolution was in full swing. Humanity had just begun to weave its first nervous system across the globe, a network of copper wire and electrical ambition that connected cities, nations, and continents. Telegraph lines stretched from Boston to New Orleans, from London to Paris, from coast to coast across a young and growing civilization. For the first time in human history, a message could travel faster than a horse. It felt like the future had arrived. And then the sun decided to remind humanity exactly how fragile that future really was. On the 1st of September, 1859, a British astronomer named Richard Carrington was doing what he did every clear morning. He was sketching sunspots through his telescope, carefully documenting the dark blemishes that occasionally appeared on the surface of our star. Then, at 11:15 in the morning, something happened that no scientist had ever witnessed before. Two brilliant white flares erupted from a cluster of sunspots so intense that Carrington could see them with his naked eye, even projected through his telescope lens. He watched in stunned silence as the flares blazed for roughly 5 minutes before fading away. He made his notes, reported his observation, and assumed it was a fascinating but harmless curiosity. He had no idea he had just watched the most powerful solar event in recorded human history. 17 hours later, the consequences arrived. A massive wave of magnetized plasma, known today as a coronal mass ejection, slammed into the Earth's magnetic field at roughly 500 miles per second. The resulting geomagnetic storm was unlike anything the planet had experienced in modern times. Auroras erupted across the entire globe. People in Cuba, in Hawaii, in Rome, in Queensland, Australia, woke up in the middle of the night thinking their cities were on fire because the sky was blood red and pulsing with light. Miners in the Rocky Mountains woke up and started making breakfast because they thought it was dawn. It was 2 in the morning. But the real damage was happening to the wires. If you are watching this channel and you love history that actually matters, hit that like button right now and subscribe so you never miss a story that changes how you see the world. These videos exist because of viewers like you, and there are so many more extraordinary stories waiting to be told. Back in 1859, every telegraph line on Earth became a conductor for the storm. Induced electrical currents surged through thousands of miles of copper wire with a force that overwhelmed every machine connected to it. Telegraph pylons threw sparks. Offices caught fire. Operators received severe electrical shocks simply by touching their equipment. And in what remains one of the most astonishing documented moments in the history of technology, operators in Boston and Portland, Maine, disconnected their batteries entirely and discovered they could still send and receive messages using only the current flowing in from the storm itself. The sun had essentially become their power source. The damage, while significant, was manageable in 1859 because the world of that time ran almost entirely on muscle. Water, wind, and fire. The telegraph network was extraordinary for its era, but civilization did not depend on it to distribute food, to pump clean water, to keep hospitals running, or to maintain order. When the wires burned, people were inconvenienced. Trade was disrupted, communication slowed, but the farms still grew crops, the rivers still turned mill wheels, and the cannons still fired when commanded. Now consider what an identical event would mean today. Modern civilization is not merely connected by electricity. It is utterly dependent on it at every level. The power grid is the central nervous system of everything we have built. Water treatment plants run on electricity. Food distribution networks depend on refrigeration and fuel pumps that require electricity. Hospital life support systems, financial transaction networks, communication satellites, GPS navigation, the internet itself, every single one of these systems would be devastated or destroyed by a Carrington-scale geomagnetic storm. Scientists and governments have been quietly terrified about this for decades. A study commissioned by the United States government estimated that a repeat Carrington event could cause between $1 and $2 trillion in damage in the first year alone, and that full recovery of the power infrastructure could take 4 to 10 years. In a world where most cities hold only 3 to 5 days of food in their supply chains, 4 to 10 years without a functioning grid is not an inconvenience. It is a collapse. And here is the part that should keep you awake at night. Near misses have already happened in the modern era. In July of 2012, a solar ejection of Carrington-scale magnitude blasted through the exact region of space that Earth had occupied just 9 days earlier. 9 days. If our planet had been in a slightly different position in its orbit, the storm would have hit us directly. Researchers who studied the event concluded it would have been at least as powerful as 1859. We missed it by 9 days, and most people never heard a single word about it. Richard Carrington died in 1875, never fully understanding what he had witnessed that morning in his observatory. He saw the flash, he felt the wonder, and he moved on with his day. But what he documented became the benchmark for solar catastrophe, the event that scientists still use to measure worst-case scenarios when they model the vulnerability of our modern world. The Carrington event of 1859 did not destroy civilization because civilization had not yet built the systems that could be destroyed. It was a warning delivered to a world too young to fully receive it. The question we face today is not whether a storm of that magnitude will come again. Scientists agree that it is inevitable. The question is whether we will take the warning seriously enough to prepare before it does. If this story made you think differently about our relationship with the sun and with the technology we depend on every day, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more history that reveals the hidden forces shaping our world. And leave a comment telling me which modern system you think would fail first if the Carrington event happened tomorrow. The answer might surprise you more than the storm itself.